Upon graduating from university, I unintentionally overreacted in self-defense while protecting my girlfriend, leading to a man's death. I was sentenced to 3 years in prison. After my release, we started a business together and quickly became rising stars in the industry. But then one day, she handed over the project I had just successfully negotiated to her male assistant, solely to help him get promoted to general manager. At a major meeting, I stood up and questioned her, but she just looked displeased and said coldly, "Don't forget, David, you're just an ex-convict. If it weren't for my past affection for you and keeping you around, you might have starved to death by now. What gives you the right to compete for projects with Tom?" In the corporate lecture hall, all shareholders and senior and middle management were present. Lily, composed and dignified in the chairman's seat, gently tapped on the table and announced, "The old neighborhood renovation project in York will be temporarily overseen by my assistant, Tom. He will assume the position of general manager after the project concludes. He will officially become the general manager of York Construction Group as soon as the project is finished." As soon as this announcement was made, all eyes immediately turned to me because everyone knew she was my wife, but because I had been imprisoned, to maintain the group's image, I was only given a management position in the business department. However, they also clearly understood the reason I went to prison 3 years prior. When Lily was almost assaulted, I risked my life to protect her, killing 4 men on the spot and being convicted of excessive self-defense, imprisoned for 3 years. More importantly, the old neighborhood renovation project in York was negotiated and secured by me. Within the company, there were also rumors that after completing this project, I could clear my past stain. It was extremely important to me. Yet, with just a casual sentence, she gave the project to someone else. At this moment, Tom walked to Lily's side, preparing to speak, but she suddenly stood up and gently adjusted his collar and tie for him, like a tender wife caring for her husband. But I was her husband. I knew Tom had joined the general manager's office last year and was promoted to her assistant this year due to his outstanding abilities. But what I didn't know was that they seemed to have a relationship beyond ordinary colleagues. Otherwise, with my personality, how could I let this go? Tom glanced at me provocatively and smiled faintly. "David, don't misunderstand. Chairman Lily is my senior. Being a bit close to me is just her care for a junior. You're not jealous, are you?" The implication in his words was no different from saying, "David, I am openly putting a green hat on you in front of everyone, and you can only endure it." I took a deep breath, my eyes icy, staring intently at Lily. "The project I negotiated and won. On what basis are you giving it to someone else?" Lily glared at me with disgust, then said coldly, "David, I am the chairman. I don't need to explain to you." George, a member of the board of directors, touched his bald head and spoke up. "Chairman, Mr. David is right. This project was negotiated by him, and he also has the ability to execute it. Now suddenly transferring the project to someone else, the board of directors also needs an explanation." Other shareholders nodded in agreement one after another. Lily slightly curled her lips into a cold smile. "David, I've given you face, but you don't know how to cherish it. Don't blame me for being heartless." She pointed directly at me and said, "Because you are an ex-convict. The old neighborhood renovation project is a project for the people. If the public knows that a former prisoner is in charge of this project, they will doubt our group, making it difficult to carry out the work later. Don't you understand that?" "Prisoner," I said in a cold voice. "Lily, what was the reason I went to prison? You know better than anyone." But Lily just smiled faintly. "David, you went to prison to protect me, so I repaid you by marrying you, and even always providing for you. If it weren't for me showing you some mercy, could an ex-convict like you find a job? If it weren't for me supporting you, you would have starved to death long ago." Each of her words was like a sharp knife stabbing deep into my heart, but I was never someone easily defeated by pain. On the contrary, every injury only made me more excited to resist. Just like that year when Lily was almost assaulted, I faced more than a dozen people alone. In a situation with no chance of victory, I still rushed into the fight. At that time, there was only one thought in my mind. Anyone who dares to touch my woman must die. That day, I was stabbed 13 times, countless bottles smashed over my head, but I gritted my teeth and endured, using anger and ruthlessness to fight back, killing 4 men on the spot. The last one was chased and killed by me while he was fleeing. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been convicted of excessive self-defense. At this moment, Tom laughed mockingly. "David, as a man, you can't always rely on a woman's kindness, can you?" A middle manager from the business department immediately chimed in. "That's right, General Manager David. Chairman Lily has been too good to you already. She could have completely used money to get rid of you, but instead, she chose to marry you. I think you are not only unappreciative but also ungrateful. A female employee from the Public Relations Department snapped her manicured nails in agreement. Our chairman is a bright pearl in the business world of York. If you have any sense of shame, you'd better take the initiative to resign and divorce the chairman. A middle manager from the marketing department also spoke up. I think the chairman and assistant Tom are a match made in heaven, extremely well suited. A staff member from the design department smiled and said, "What assistant?" "Should be called general manager Tom, because that position is already a certainty." I listened to their discussions, but couldn't help but laugh. I leisurely sat down and calmly asked Lily, "You want me to resign?" She looked at me deeply, then nodded. "Yes, your past as a prisoner is not good for the group. It's best if you resign." I smiled faintly. "Okay, I can resign, but with one condition." Lily was slightly stunned, then asked, "What condition?" "Divorce." I glanced towards the legal department and said, "Contact lawyer Frank. Have him draft a divorce agreement." "David, are you crazy?" Lily suddenly slammed the table, her face somewhat panicked. "I only said you are not suitable to work in the group. Never thought about divorce. Do you have to make a scene in front of everyone?" I just shook my head indifferently, watching how skillfully she adjusted Tom's clothes. It was clearly not the first time. The relationship between the two was also not just a simple superior-subordinate relationship. If she had betrayed me, then this marriage had no need to continue. A female employee from the Public Relations Department immediately chimed in. "Chairman, agree quickly. This is the best opportunity for you to get rid of him." Others also kept echoing, buzzing excitedly about our divorce. I memorized every face in that crowd. In my heart, I couldn't help but feel strange. Since when did the group's employees dare to openly discuss and interfere in the chairman's marriage like this? No divorce. Lily suddenly slammed the table hard. "Stop talking. David, I only want you to resign. I still have feelings for you." I lit a cigarette, took a light puff, and said calmly, "Sorry, but I no longer have feelings for you." David has never touched something that's been used by someone else. I find it dirty. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire meeting room fell silent because those words were too harsh. Even the shareholders didn't expect me to say such things. Only Tom smiled brightly, the corners of his mouth uncontrollably curving upwards. He seemed to think that his chance to take the throne had arrived. Lily looked at me in shock, her voice trembling. "David, what are you saying?" "I'm your wife." I looked directly at her and nodded seriously. "I don't care what step you and Tom have reached, but as your husband, your concern for another man has exceeded the limits of a normal relationship. In my eyes, you are no different from someone dirty." Tom immediately retorted, his tone full of sarcasm. "David, do you still have any shame? Listening to you, it's like you're so great. Don't forget, it was Chairman Lily who supported you all this time. Without her, you would have starved to death long ago. Now you speak as if you are the one who supported her." Those who had just spoken up continued to mock me. "He's just an ex-convict, living off a woman, yet dares to be so arrogant." Exactly. A prisoner even dares to be rude to the chairman in a corporate meeting. He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I didn't bother to pay attention to those jeers. I just looked directly at Lily, my voice cold and resolute. "No need to say anything more. We must divorce." Unexpectedly, Lily burst into tears. But what did that have to do with me? I didn't even bother to pay attention. I stood up, intending to leave the meeting room. At this moment, George also stood up and walked with me, saying, "There will be a party tonight, and the largest investor in this project will be present. Even if you are no longer in charge of the project, you are the one who successfully negotiated it. You cannot be absent." Tom leaned close to Lily and whispered, "Lily, I think we should still keep an eye on him. If he goes out and speaks carelessly, it will have a negative impact on the group." Lily wiped her tears, glared at me with anger. "You are not allowed to leave. Anyway, you are still an employee of the group. I order you to attend the party tonight." I stopped, turned around, and looked at them with a faint smile. "This is what you asked for. Don't regret it." After speaking, I left the meeting room. But before I could go far, Tom chased after me and blocked my path. After George left, he curled his lips into a provocative smile. "David, there's something you probably don't know yet. The biggest investor in this project doesn't just appreciate you. I met them yesterday, and they are very satisfied with me. That's why I told you to stay and attend the party, The main purpose is to watch you be humiliated in front of everyone." He was full of smugness, as if he had a sure victory. I looked at him as if looking at an idiot and said calmly, "Do you know what capitalism is? Do you think the game of capital is easy to play? You are too naive." After speaking, I turned and left. Leaving the corporate building, I stood in front of the door and lit a cigarette. The security guard standing nearby also came closer and sat with me on the steps, smoking. I glanced at him and said, "Don't be a security guard anymore. Something might happen soon, follow me." He touched his bald head and grinned. "Okay, I'm not thinking too much anyway." Just as I said, these sufferings could not defeat me. They only made me more excited, more eager to retaliate strongly. The matter between me and Lily, the fault was her betrayal, not mine. I had no reason to punish myself. Not long after, I arrived at the party hall. The employees of the group also arrived one after another. When they saw me, they didn't hold back at all, openly discussing right in front of me. He actually dared to show his face? There are people who really don't know shame. If it were me, I would have proactively given up my position to General Manager Tom long ago. He is truly the most pathetic type of man. And he said such harsh words to the chairman. This kind of person deserves to be eliminated. Their discussions were very loud, attracting the attention of many people around, but I just leaned against the window, calmly taking a puff of cigarette. I didn't bother to argue with such shallow-minded people. Of course, that didn't mean I would be generous enough to let them insult me. It's just that I didn't need to take action myself yet. At that moment, Lily and Tom also walked in, heading straight towards me. Lily wore a white dress, appearing cold and aloof, but her eyes were slightly red, obviously having just cried. She was the betrayer. What right did she have to cry? Lily looked around. Seeing that there weren't many people nearby, she pulled my hand, her voice soft. "David, don't make trouble anymore. I really don't want a divorce. It's just that everyone in the group said you are not suitable to stay here, so I made that decision." Seeing that I had no reaction, she continued, "As for Tom, there is nothing between me and him. Just now, adjusting his clothes was only to enhance his image in front of everyone, to help the work go smoothly later." I shook off her hand, my voice cold. "Don't touch me, dirty. Don't be like this, okay?" Lily burst into tears again. I laughed mockingly. "Lily, you want to enhance his value, but you use the way of putting a green hat on my head? You openly help him adjust his clothes in front of everyone, regardless of whether there is anything between you two. Others will think there is. Did you not hear the discussions just now? Or, in your eyes, am I not even a human being, allowing you to trample on me at will? Have you ever cared about my feelings?" Lily kept shaking her head, her tone frantic. "It's not like that, David. In my heart, there is only you, really." I smiled coldly. "Dirty is dirty. Whatever you say, I don't believe anymore." At this moment, Tom loudly interjected, "David, don't be unreasonable. Chairman Lily has already given you a way to step down, yet you still deliberately hurt her." I glanced at him, my eyes full of contempt. "This is not a place for you to speak." I really didn't understand where he got the confidence to speak so loudly. Tom angrily shouted, "David, you are just negotiating a project successfully. That was originally a task Chairman Lily assigned to you. If I were to negotiate, I could also succeed." Lily at this point was crying so much that she could no longer clearly hear what we were saying. Tom continued to provoke. "I know what you are relying on to be arrogant. You think you have a good relationship with the investor, so you feel this project cannot do without you, right? I tell you, I met them yesterday, and they think highly of me. When the investor arrives here, I will let you see with your own eyes that you are nothing." Right then, a woman in a black evening dress walked in. She carried a noble and elegant aura, her temperament sharp, as if completely separated from the crowd. It was Grace, the eldest princess of the Grace Group, the largest investor in this project. "Director Grace is here." Tom immediately ignored me, hurriedly ran over, bowed obsequiously, and reached out his hand. "Welcome, Director Grace, you've arrived. I should have come to greet you earlier, but..." Grace didn't shake his hand, the corners of her lips curving into a faint smile, but without a trace of kindness. "What? Does your group not consider me human?" Letting a small assistant come to greet me, the smile on Tom's face froze, his expression instantly becoming unsightly. At this moment, Lily quickly wiped her tears, stabilized her emotions, turned to me and whispered, "David, I will explain everything to you clearly when we get home." Then she adjusted her expression, forced a smile, and stepped forward. Director Grace, you are our esteemed guest. If you need to be greeted, of course, I will personally go to greet you. It's just that your schedule was uncertain, so I didn't go to the airport. Speaking, she reached out her hand, wanting to shake hands with Grace, but Grace still didn't extend her hand, her expression cold, her eyes a little annoyed. At this moment, Tom immediately turned his head to look at me, his tone full of arrogance. David, don't you see Director Grace has arrived? Quickly come here and greet her. I chuckled, slowly lit a cigarette, leaned against the window frame, and quietly looked outside. George and some other shareholders approached, neither arrogant nor ingratiating, and began to converse with Grace. Grace also smiled in response, chatting with them naturally. George laughed and said, Director Grace, my father and I met once more than 10 years ago. It seems I also met you then, when you were still a little girl. Do you remember? You even gave me a meeting gift, a jade pendant. I still keep it and cherish it very much. Grace smiled, their conversation completely ignoring Lily and Tom to the side. After all, Lily was the chairman, obligated to stay, but Tom was different. He was just a special assistant, not qualified to stand in this group. He then retreated, stepped towards me, and muttered uncomfortably, What's so great about talking to a bunch of old people? I glanced at him and said calmly, Without shares in the group, you are just an outsider. Do you think they will pay attention to you? Tom scoffed. You know for sure? You talk as if you have shares. I just smiled without answering. He continued, I tell you, David, getting rid of you is just the first step. When I take power, I will also sweep away all those old fogies. I looked at him, feeling he really had no brain. A group of board of directors shareholders, and he thought he could sweep them away as he pleased? Even if it was possible, a normal person would never say such foolish words. I really didn't understand how Lily could possibly be involved with this kind of person. Just then, Grace suddenly ran towards me, her face excited. She tightly grasped my hand, her eyes shining brightly. David, I heard you are about to divorce Lily. I nodded yes. Tom couldn't believe it and hurriedly interjected. Director Grace, you must have been deceived by this David. Why are you calling him David? But Grace didn't even bother to pay attention to him, only looked directly at me, her eyes full of anticipation. Tom continued to say, Director Grace, do you know who he is? He is an ex-convict who killed people. He killed 4 people, and he is ungrateful and disloyal. Chairman Lily married him, provided him with a life of luxury, yet he only knows how to live off women. Grace still ignored him, only gently asked me, You are going to be single soon, right? Then can I pursue you? As soon as the words were spoken, the entire room fell silent. Everyone was stunned. Only I remained calm. Tom couldn't help but shout, Director Grace, are you listening to me? He is a prisoner. Grace furrowed her delicate brows, her voice turning cold. Shut your mouth immediately. Immediately after, her bodyguards rushed over. They didn't give Tom a chance to resist, immediately controlling him. Some held his hands and feet. Some repeatedly slapped him hard in the face. I even saw one of his teeth being knocked out, fresh blood spurting out. In an instant, he was beaten until his face was swollen, no different from a pig's head. Lily panicked and rushed over, hurriedly speaking up, Director Grace, he is my special assistant. Aren't you going a bit too far? Grace laughed coldly, then go call the police. After speaking, she turned to look at me, her voice much gentler. David, anyway, you are about to divorce, so agree to me, okay? I'm serious, in this world. No one will love you more than me. Lily angrily yelled, I'm still alive here, and I don't agree to divorce. Grace didn't even bother to look at her, only focused on observing me. David, do you ultimately want a divorce or not? I nodded, my tone decisive. I am sure I will divorce. I don't have the habit of keeping things that have been used by others. David, Lily almost collapsed, but I didn't pay any attention to her. She yelled, I won't divorce. Grace curled her lips into a faint smile. You won't divorce, then I won't sign the contract. Without my capital, I want to see how you will implement this project. Lily was stunned, completely defeated. At the same time, Tom, who had been beaten until he was bruised and battered, pulled Lily to a corner. Tom leaned close to Lily and whispered, Lily, this project must continue. As long as you are still the chairman, you can still control him. Otherwise, you will completely lose control over him. Lily hesitated for a moment, then stepped to my side, her voice heavy. Okay, I agree to divorce. I nodded in satisfaction, then turned to Grace, sincerely saying, "Being able to divorce smoothly, consider it that I owe you a favor." But Grace was not polite, immediately hooking her arm through mine in an extremely intimate manner. "David, then how do you plan to repay this favor?" I didn't answer, not because I was repulsed by starting a new relationship, but because I wanted to completely resolve everything unfinished with Lily before thinking about other things. In fact, Grace and I had known each other for a long time. Several years ago, she was in charge of the import and export business of her family. A shipment of hers encountered serious problems and could not be resolved in a short time. Later, she learned that I had connections in this field, so she asked me for cooperation. I made a few phone calls to some friends in prison, and in a short time, helped her to resolve everything. Since then, we had kept in touch, but mainly in business dealings. When I discovered she had feelings for me, I proactively kept a distance, because at that time, I was a married man. In the party hall, even though he had just been beaten until his face was swollen, Tom still tried to appear smug. He raised his wine glass, his tone full of arrogance. "Today is a momentous day. As long as we complete the old neighborhood renovation project, our group will definitely reach a new height. Let's all congratulate Chairman Lily." Everyone around simultaneously raised their glasses. Only Lily stood by the window, her eyes empty, seemingly lost in thought. Someone flattering Tom laughed and said, "General Manager Tom is still the most capable. Even if David goes to live off Director Grace, his future achievements will definitely be far inferior to yours." Tom smugly nodded. "That's right. I just lacked an opportunity, but once I have an opportunity, I will climb to the top." After speaking, he walked towards Lily, intending to put his arm around her waist, but Lily immediately dodged, her face as cold as ice. "I am helping you enhance your own value. That's why I appeared intimate with you in front of everyone. Did you think it was real?" Tom hurriedly said, "Lily, you know my feelings for you. I really don't understand. In what aspect am I inferior to David?" Lily coldly glanced at him. "Do the project well. If there is any mistake, get lost immediately." I returned home. Not long after, Lily also came back. As soon as she saw me, she suddenly knelt down. I was slightly stunned, my voice calm. "Lily, we have already clearly discussed the divorce. You don't need to do this." She shook her head, tears falling in streams. "It's not like that, David. In my heart, there has never been anyone else. I said those words to you just because I wanted to quickly help Tom grow up, so that later we could spend time living our lives together." I looked at her, my eyes cold. "I killed people to protect you. The motive was good, but I still had to go to prison because the result was terrible. Today's matter is also the same. You used the wrong method, so it led to the wrong result. You must bear this consequence yourself." Lily cried and said, "Can't you give me a chance?" I shook my head. After the university entrance exam, we started dating. From the very beginning, I made it very clear that my bottom line is that you cannot be too intimate with any other man. Have you forgotten? Seeing my resolute attitude, Lily gritted her teeth. "David, you will regret it." Then she left. I didn't stop her. I knew she was standing outside the door, waiting for me to chase after her. But this matter no longer had any meaning. She had hurt me, and it wasn't something that could be erased just by saying sorry. Like a nail hammered into a wooden board, even if it's pulled out, the hole is still there. The next day, I was sleeping when my phone rang. It was George calling. His voice was full of urgency. "David, quickly come to the group. Something happened." I slightly curled my lips into a faint smile. I knew something would happen. Everything was within control. "Okay, wait a moment, I will come." An hour later, I left home and headed straight to the group. When I arrived at the group, the atmosphere was extremely lively. In addition to the group's employees, there were also many outsiders, not a few wearing suits, but their faces carried a fierce look, not like ordinary businessmen. In addition, Grace and her people were also present. I slightly nodded to them, then walked straight into the large meeting room. Those following me also entered one after another. Lily sat in the chairman's seat, with Tom beside her. As soon as Tom saw me, he immediately shouted loudly, "David, what exactly do you mean? You have already left the company, yet you still want to sabotage the company's project." At this moment, George stood up and pulled out a chair for me to sit down. I glanced at Tom and calmly said, "Explain clearly, how have I sabotaged the company?" Tom angrily growled, "The residents who had originally agreed to relocate have now all backed out and refused. If it wasn't you playing tricks, who else could it be?" Lily also spoke up, her eyes complex. David, this company was founded by us together. No matter how angry you're with me, you can't destroy the company. I didn't answer her, but turned to look at a man with a thick beard. Harry, the leader of the old neighborhood, also a brother I knew when I was in prison. When I first entered prison, he was the one who took care of me. After I was released, I brought him and some residents of the old neighborhood to work with me. Harry glanced at Tom, then turned to look at Lily, his tone somewhat sarcastic. Sister-in-law. No, it should be called ex-sister-in-law now. I really don't understand what you were thinking. You think this old neighborhood renovation project is easy for just anyone to negotiate? Lily was stunned, her face a little confused. In the past, she only needed to sit there, everything was taken care of by me, so she fundamentally didn't know what I had done. I smiled faintly. You are just someone who enjoys the fruits of labor. Of course, you don't know how many things still need to be resolved behind the scenes. Tom slammed the table hard. Don't talk nonsense. The conditions that David put forward, I can also put forward. Harry laughed, looking at him as if looking at an idiot. York's economy has developed for 30 years. Why has the old neighborhood not been renovated yet? It's precisely because the geographical location is too expensive. The compensation costs are extremely high. Many residents there want to take this opportunity to make a large sum, demanding sky-high compensation prices. For example, me, you offer a compensation price of $30,000 per square meter, but I want $300,000 per square meter. Tom frowned and immediately asked, how much property do you have there? 1,400 houses. Tom's eyes widened, completely frozen. He angrily retorted, 300,000 per square meter is unreasonable, too much. Harry scoffed, then don't relocate. I'm not forcing you. Tom was at a loss for words, not knowing how to react. Harry continued, in the past, there were also quite a few people who wanted to develop the project and propose cooperation with me, but I didn't trust them. Those who do business with capitalists have unclean hearts. But if David wants to cooperate, I will agree, because I trust him. He is someone who dares to risk his life for his brothers. And he has also helped the residents of the old neighborhood. We have jobs. Harry glanced at the crowd in the meeting room and said bluntly, this project can be implemented because the negotiator is David. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't do it. Grace also nodded in confirmation. Our Grace family invests capital also because of Mr. David's reputation. Otherwise, for a project with a long capital recovery period and high risks like this, we would not easily get involved. At this moment, Tom completely panicked. He looked at Lily and hurriedly said, Lily, you are the chairman. Quickly cancel David's resignation and order him to help me complete this project. Lily was silent, seemingly just realizing the serious problem that she had never thought of before. I said indifferently, enough, Tom, don't put on a show anymore. Do you think you can really turn the tide? The shares in the group, I hold 65%. Lily does not have any shares. She sits in that position not because of ability, but because I loved her. Now that I don't love her anymore, she is nothing. Tom was stunned. I chuckled, crossed my arms, and looked at him. What? Unexpected, right? The woman you flattered, the woman you wanted to rely on to get promoted, is actually just an empty shell. Unexpected, right? Tom was silent, speechless. Lily burst into tears, but also couldn't refute. She had sat in this position for too long, to the point of really thinking that she was the founder of the group. But as I said, she was just someone enjoying the fruits of labor. Lily, when I got out of prison, you were still working at the night market, doing manicures for customers. Have you forgotten? I continued. It may sound like we started a business together, but throughout the process of me building the company, what help did you give me? Your mother came to cause trouble every time because of your younger brother. Wasn't it all resolved by me spending money? The first projects of the company, I had to risk my life to win them. All the shareholders present here invested in the company because of me, not because of you. Later, your parents came to demand to divide the shares, and you also echoed them, causing trouble. It's not that I didn't want to give you shares, but because your family's insatiable greed made the shareholders afraid to give you shares. To make you happy, I could give up my title to let you sit in the chairman's position, but in return, you treat me like garbage. Regardless of whether there is a relationship between you and Tom or not, we have already reached the end. The problem is not whether you betrayed me or not, but that your thinking has become problematic. After I finished speaking, I waved my hand, and the bodyguard stepped forward and dragged them out. Lily was still crying, but no longer said anything more. Up until this moment, she realized how wrong she had been, but it was all too late. After that, the project officially started operating. I was busy day and night. Fortunately, with Grace's excellent ability and dedication to help, I had time to rest. In the process of this cooperation, the relationship between us also progressed. After 3 months, we discussed marriage. As for Tom, he hired someone to assassinate me, but was dealt with on the spot by the bald security guard who always guarded the group's gate. That security guard was a brother I knew in prison, who once owed me a life. Not long after, Tom received a good job opportunity to work abroad. Later, he had a traffic accident and died overseas. In fact, that job opportunity was arranged by me. As for those who had gossiped behind my back, all of them lost their jobs. Not only lost their jobs, but in York, they would never find another job again. A few months later, one day, someone brought a child to my office. Accompanying the child was a letter. The letter was left by Lily. The content was very brief. David, I have always loved you. It's just that I went astray, being fascinated by Tom and those around him. They kept saying bad things about you in my ear and constantly praised me to the sky. Perhaps I was also unwilling to always be someone who only knew how to enjoy the fruits of labor, so I said those hurtful words to you. But I never betrayed you. Never. This child is our daughter. You can go for a DNA test. I am not lying. As for my innocence, I will use death to prove it. The letter ended there. Not long after, Lily really died. She slit her wrist in the bathtub and passed away like that. I took the child for testing, and it was indeed my daughter. The little girl looked very much like her. Grace loved the child very much. She said she would treat her like her own daughter and would not mention the matter of Lily again. I do not regret it, because this world should be like this. Karma comes around, just sooner or later.